Welcome into our Action Network studios in New York City. I'm Brendan Glasheen in for Maria Marino this week. It's Green Dot Daily. We are back every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app. Also streaming on the Action Network YouTube page. If you are with us on YouTube, please make sure you are subscribed to our channel. Please like the video too. Vikings Eagles to kick off week 2. Coming up on the show today, touchdown bets for the game from Gilles Gallant and our producer today. He's also an analyst. He wanted me to say that to all of you. Charlie DiSturco standing by. He has a same game parlay he is in love with. Charlie is in the studio with me, as well as Tim Kalinowski later on. Here are the latest splits for tonight's game between the Vikings and the Eagles. These two teams did get together early last year, week 2, Monday Night Football. Eagles cruised 24-7. Jalen Hurts, he was tossing the rock around for 333 yards. Kirk Cousins and company, they moved the ball, but classic primetime Kirk, 3 interceptions. The line is moving in favor of the Vikings, down to 6.5 points after an opening line of 7. Sean Koerner of our predictive analytics team now joins us on Green Dot Daily. Sean, let's just begin with general discussion on the game, okay? It's week 1 that we have to work with for 2023. Vikings, they fall short. They underwhelm us at home against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They lose that game 2017, while the Eagles, big lead early. Patriots were inept, but then the Eagles were erratic in the second half. The Patriots probably should have covered, but they didn't. Eagles sneak away with the win. What are you expecting for tonight?
Yeah, so, the Vikings had one of the luckiest seasons of all time, really, last year, going 11-0 in one-score games. And look at that, week 1. They're already 0-1 in one-score games. They probably should have beat the Bucs at home, but they lost by 3. So they were actually the 5th unluckiest team, according to our luck rankings. And on the other side, the Eagles were the luckiest team. They hung on to beat your Patriots, but it's a game where, even though the Eagles are one of the best teams in the league, they still benefited quite a bit from luck in that game. So this is the #1 game in terms of our luck rankings this week. So the Vikings are a good play in regards to that, but I am worried that they could be without 2 starting offensive linemen tonight. Center Garrett Bradbury's already ruled out, and left tackle Christian Darrisaw is questionable. I'm still stalking Twitter or X, whatever you call it right now, to see if he's in, because I want to lock in the Vikings. If he's ruled in, I'm going to lock in the Vikings against the spread, or if this gets back up to 7.
Hang tight, those of you waiting for Koerner's player prop for tonight. Let's dive a little deeper into the play. Are you giving out +6, 6.5 as an official play for the Vikings tonight?
Not yet. Again,
Okay.
I think Darrisaw is huge, so I want to make sure he's in there. If he's out, that's going to be a problem. If he's ruled out, we could see this line go back up to 7, and then I'll be on the Vikings at that. So I'm holding out for now, just waiting for news or for the line to go back up to 7 potentially.
Let me ask you one more thing, because the luck rankings are going to be a big topic for our shows, other programs that you join throughout the course of the year. You and Nick Giffen crunch the numbers. Let me ask you this. It's so early in the year, though. We have 1 game in this season to work with. So I'm curious, when it's early in the season with luck rankings, does that crawl inside your head at all? Because I know what we're trying to do here. We're trying to bet unlucky teams against the lucky teams. But is it fair to say already that the Vikings are not a lucky team? Like, you follow what I mean? You're going to have more data as the year goes on. Just explain to me what's going through your mind when it's 1 game to work with.
Yeah, that's a great question. It really goes both ways. Of course, we don't have too much data to be like, all right, the Vikings are extremely unlucky. They're going to get lucky this week. But on the flip side, we're all kind of overreacting to week 1. So it's kind of capturing that. Everybody saw that Eagles-Patriots game, and the Eagles won by 5. But if you punch the numbers, the Patriots probably should have won that game. The Vikings should have won their game. So if anything, early in the season, luck rankings are even more valuable because we're trying to capture that short-term recency bias. So, the luck rankings, we don't have much data, but neither does anybody else. So that's kind of why I am sticking with them for, week 2.
Fair enough. I just think it's good context to understand. I think the luck rankings, the worth of the luck rankings, there's more worth in them as the year goes on, is the overall point. Okay, player prop for tonight. We had you on Monday. We talked Gabe Davis and the Bills. I felt smart giving out an extra yard, even though I know your whole point was, let's still find it 45.5. That
no, but I always appreciate an extra yard if I can get it.
I mean, I'm just grateful that I was able to help you. Normally you're the one helping me. but not to take too much away from you. Anyway, player prop for tonight's game, Eagles-Vikings. Where are you going, Sean Koerner?
So I'm going with Alexander Mattison, longest rush to be under 13.5 yards. You can get it at -110 right now. And I absolutely love this prop. Madison's more of a short yardage grinder. He doesn't really pop off many big runs. In fact, since 2021, he's seen 219 rush attempts, and only 7 of those have gone for 14 or more yards. Only 2 of them have gone for 20 or more yards. So he's not a guy that really pops off long runs. And I already mentioned the offensive line issues for the Vikings tonight. They're already going to be without starting center Garrett Bradbury, who's a much better run blocker. He actually allowed the 3rd most pressures for all centers last year. However, when he was off the field, they average they average 4.5 yards a carry with him on the field, and with him off the field, they average 3.7 yards per carry. So his loss is a big deal in the run game. And I already mentioned Christian Darrisaw is questionable. His loss would be massive as well. Madison only saw 0.6 yards before contact last week, so the offensive line was already not doing him favors, and he's not somebody that can really generate yards himself. So they might get him more involved maybe in the screen game or something, or we could see Ty Chandler mix in more on early downs just to get some sort of juice in the running game. But either way, love the under 13.5 yards for his longest rush. I'm actually showing a 69% chance he stays under this. And, if it gets bet down to 12.5, I still like it. 61% chance it'll go under 12.5. So I'm projecting his median closer to 11.5. So love the value we're getting under 13.5 here.
Okay, as we speak, that number's starting to crawl down to your point, so I'm glad you mentioned the 12.5. And I liked your point about the receiving game, too. Just his overall yards in the receiving game at 15.5. I wonder if Kirk Cousins, when he gets that pressure from that Eagles defensive line that was excellent last week. I think we're in for a great year. They're in for a great year up front, if indeed it's just checkdowns and not as much running the ball. Plus, I would imagine, too, and you've mentioned the injuries, from a game script perspective, Kirk Cousins might have to throw quite a bit in this game.
Yeah, he might have to throw more just because it could be a trailing game script. And, the Eagles, I didn't even mention it, they're down 3 key players on the defensive side as well. N'Kobe Dean, James Bradbury, Reed Blankenship. All those are, more prevalent to the passing game. So the Vikings should be able to throw the ball here. So I don't know if they're going to just lean on Madison for 20-plus carries here. Either way, I just love this prop.
All right, Sean Koerner, our Director of Predictive Analytics. Great stuff as always, my friend, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Sounds good. Cheers.
Okay, we will send it now to our friend Gilles Gallant. Touchdown picks for tonight. Take it away, Gilles.
Thank you, Brendan. And here are my 2 touchdown score picks for Vikings-Eagles, brought to you by the Action Network app. And my first pick is going to be TJ Hawkinson. I grabbed his touchdown odds around plus 255. I'd still play it down to about plus 210. Now, he had 8 targets in week 1, which is right around his average since joining the Vikings over a 12-game stretch. And he's clearly a safety blanket for Kirk Cousins because he averages just under 1.5 red zone targets per game in that stretch. Now, also, the Eagles defense, they're going to get pressure on the quarterback, but they're shorthanded, missing 3 starters, 2 in the secondary. We also just saw Hunter Henry score in this defense last week. Probably should have had 2. Now, based on the projected volume alone, Hawks should have some decent looks to score. My next pick, we're going a little bit outside the box. We're going to take Jalen Hurts for a touchdown, but instead we're going to take him for first team touchdown or first Eagles touchdown. And the reason being is running the ball, that's in the Eagles' DNA. Rushing touchdown was the first Eagles touchdown in 12 of 17 games last year. And in his career, Hurts has scored a touchdown in 16 regular season games. To put that in perspective, 11 of those games, he was the first Eagles touchdown of the game. And for what it's worth, he did score the first touchdown last year versus the Vikings. Now, he is minus 130 to score an anytime touchdown. I think we need to kick it up a notch. So those are my 2 picks. We're taking Jalen Hurts first team touchdown and TJ Hawkinson anytime touchdown, both tracked at the Action Network app. Bon chance.
Thanks to Gilles Gallant. He'll be joining Sean Koerner and Nick Giffen with host Megan Payton later today to provide more analysis on tonight's game. 5:30 Action Island. They'll have picks. Also, a same-game parlay that they will build on the program. And speaking of that, our producer today happens to also be an analyst here at Action Network. Charlie DiSturco is joining us. He's very versatile, Tim. He's joining us in studio. He's got a same-game parlay that he likes tonight. Happy Hour co-host Tim Kalinowski is alongside here, too. We're going to weigh in. Charlie's got a same-game parlay, Tim. We're going to go leg by leg, Charles. And he's got analysis of this written form. He's a print guy, really, at heart, Tim. He's got the print version on the Action app, actionnetwork.com. Why don't you deliver your first leg for the same-game parlay for tonight's game?
Yes, as always, deeper analysis on the online version. But my first leg of this game, TJ Hawkinson to go 50-plus receiving yards. This is a play that I locked in earlier this week, and quite frankly, I really like Hawkinson's ceiling here. He had 8 receptions in week 1, and I think that this is a great matchup against Philly that has really struggled against the tight end position against the Patriots this last week. Hunter Henry and Mike Gesicki combined for 92 receiving yards. So when you look at TJ Hawkinson and you look at the matchups on the board, Justin Jefferson is going to be shadowed by Darius Slay, and James Bradbury is in concussion protocol. Nakobe Dean on the injured list, and Reed Blankenship also out. That's 3 key defenders that are out for Philly, with Slay having his hands full on Justin Jefferson, which then leaves Addison and TJ Hawkinson to clean up the work. And I think that TJ Hawkinson is great in this situation here. He's going to take advantage of the middle of the field. He's Kirk Cousins' safety valve. So 50-plus receiving yards from TJ here.
Tim, you got the targets last week. He had 8 catches, but just 35 yards. You got thoughts first on this first leg?
Well, so if that was, if the longer version is on print, geez, how long's the longer version? So, I mean...
250 words at least on print. That was only 125, Tim. Come on.
Okay, another.
If you want your real news, you read it in print, okay?
Come on, Tim. Some people like different mediums. Shut up. On to leg 2. This is not a prop. We have one more prop, but in this case, you got a side or a total. What do you got for leg 2?
Yes. So, Tim, I don't know if you know this word, but correlation. This is where this goes in hand. TJ Hawkinson and over 50.5. It's an alt over here. And I really like this one here because, as we talked about, the Eagles are so injured. Well, this Vikings team, their defense is not good at all either. And you look at the matchup, the Philly was able to dismantle them last year in week 2. They sat on the ball in the second half. Well, this time, I don't think that's going to happen. The Vikings got nearly 400 yards of offense in week 1 against the Bucs, just turned it over 3 times, twice inside the Tampa 30. So a Vikings team that's about average to below average and due for negative regression on the defensive side, paired with 2 high-octane offenses in the Eagles and the Vikings, and all the injuries on the Eagles side. I think a lot of points happen here on Thursday night.
All right. I mean, my only concern for you here is, and we'll get grades in a second, but they couldn't punch it in last year with primetime Kirk in the red zone. That would be my concern on this front.
Yeah, I mean, I'm semi-concerned about that, but also at the same time, Nakobe Dean, he's hurt. James Bradbury, he's hurt. And Reed Blankenship, he's hurt. So that's now 3 starters, plus the Eagles lost a bunch of guys on the defensive end last year in the offseason, over the offseason. So this is just a different team that only their front line defensive line is healthy.
All right, Tim, let's get this last leg. And you got thoughts on that one?
Yeah, he came at me, Glash. I gotta get a shot in. Listen, I actually like the Caps because of the correlation, but I'll tell you what I learned about correlation is that correlation does not always mean causation. Okay, tell me your next leg.
Wow, vocabulary.
Oh, it was a big word there, Tim. I'm proud. I'm proud of this Syracuse education product work here.
Report cards coming in a second. Give us the last leg, then we'll give our grades.
Okay, this is a great one here. Devontae Smith, 60-plus receiving yards. Again, an over and over and over. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, so I like Devontae Smith here. Caleb Evans is on the outside, and he'll be lining up with Devontae Smith here. And if you look at his numbers in PFF grade, he came out last year. He had a 47.2 PFF grade, and in pass coverage, 40.5. So that is horrendous. He ranks 68.2 reception defense. He just gives up a lot of yards on every reception and allows receivers to create separation. And what does Devontae Smith do so well? He's a deep downfield threat and gets a lot of big plays. He had 15-plus receiving yard in 1 reception in 16 of 20 games last year, 25-plus in 40% of all his games played. So he's a big play threat. He gets used a lot, had 7 receptions in week 1. I think he goes over this 60 number here.
All right, Tim, we got our 3 legs. Can you come up with a grade for this same game parlay? Let's rip this guy to shreds. Or do you have belief in Charlie's same game parlay for tonight?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's hard to, separate the work from the person. That's always a challenge when you're giving a grade. But I just want to give you one quick question. What is your philosophy on when you build a same game parlay? Do you also take the legs separately in separate bets as well, in case you go 2 and 1?
Yeah, that's a good question. I do normally take every single one on the side. I do have TJ Hawkinson 46.5 locked in, and the over 48.5. I took the alt over because of the key numbers here of 48 and 51. Rather than going down with the juice, I'm going up. So yeah, I do take it all. Devontae Smith, I've been back and forth because 60.5 is a little bit more juiced, and his number has since risen to 64.5 across the board. But yeah.
All right, Tim.
And so my grade there.
Yeah.
I'll give you my grade. I'll spit out my grade there. It's just too many overs for me. When you're building the same game parlay, it's already square by nature, and then you're talking to me about a lot of overs. I like the correlation. Thank you. Wow, you taught me so much. But I'm going to give you a B+ just because of too many overs for me. I don't want to hear about that. Tell me some unders. Be greasy with it. Have a little heart. Have a little guts, will you?
Hey, I mean, when I don't think that the defense is going to do anything, I can't take an under because I think both defenses have such severe issues, and the offenses, I think, are going to roll.
Okay, so I'll give you my grade now. I get you on Devontae Smith. I understand. He went over this total last year against this Minnesota team. Here's what concerns me. You like Jordan Addison, right? You like Jordan Addison as it pertains to the over in the
Correct.
game. Okay. Well, now you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ Hawkinson. While he gets the targets, he's only been over the total that you have for tonight in 4, including week 1, 4 of his 11 games with the Vikings.
Yes, but here's the thing, right? Justin Jefferson, if you saw that last year matchup against Darius Slay, he was shut down. He was not the effective receiver that he was. And now all that added attention there and all the injuries the Eagles have over that middle of the field, I expect him to clean up in that middle of the field, right? Like Jordan Addison, yes, that's a concern for me, that he might be the guy that will get a lot of yards and work in the middle of the field and underneath. But Hawkinson has been that guy all season as a safety valve. So if he gets 8 to 10 targets, I think he can easily go over this number given all the injuries that have ruptured the Eagles defense.
Okay, so that's my concern, 1. And 2, this is why I'm at a B, not a B+. My concern is the Vikings being able to score in the red zone.
That's a fair concern.
And Kirk Cousins in prime time.
It's
a lazy take. It's lazy take, but it's true.
Right. I just think the injuries are too much for the Eagles to overcome here, which is why I expect a higher scoring game.
Okay. B+. Tim, you happen to be more of a positive guy in this particular segment
Somehow.
today.
Yeah, rare. Glash, you're giving lazy takes. That's rare. Rare for me to be positive, but sky might be falling.
Okay, Tim. Thanks so much. Charlie, thank you for coming on.
Gotcha.
Good job. All right, as a reminder, everybody, you can get our recap of picks from Green Dot Daily very easily. Just go to the Action Network app, search Green Dot Daily. You can follow our show account. We keep track so you do not have to. That concludes our Thursday show for Green Dot Daily. Again, don't forget, coming up at 5:30 Eastern, Sean Koerner, Gilles Gallant, also joined by Nick Given, host Megan Payton. They've got you covered for Action Island, breaking down Week 2 Thursday Night Football between the Eagles and Vikings. That's going to do it for us. For our entire team, Brendan Glasheen signing off. Thanks for joining us on Green Dot Daily.